Welcome. We will go live on Facebook and we're gonna rock and roll in three, two, and one. We are live. Welcome to this special coffee with yours truly, Dragon edition. This afternoon we will be doing a little bit of meditation, rock and roll. We will be reading on Alexander Dugin, philosopher of Russia, in order to understand current events and the current situation that was in the news, namely the explosion, a car explosion. And this moment in time, the information is not well known as to the occurrence, but from what we do know in the news as early as last night, this morning, and ongoing today, it is that the daughter of the philosopher, geopolitical theorist, analyst, and philosopher known as Alexander Dugin, which I've listened to and tried to discern and understand in the past, as we will now go on a reading session in order to discern more and understand more the philosophy and understand more the current events ongoing, as I am calling for an immediate ceasefire, local, national, international. So this cup of coffee is dedicated to world peace, and of course, if we are to attain world peace and work towards ceasefire, we will have to find alternatives, ways to, of course, channel and sublimate, which two key words of my philosophy is channeling and sublimating, as we need to channel and sublimate, whether it is aggression, whether it is sexuality, these things that we need to channel and sublimate. They're not to be repressed in my, as an independent psychological analyst and theorist, as an independent philosopher, an independent activist, an independent athlete. Of course, these two words are keywords of my philosophy: channeling and sublimating. Sublimation and channeling, as opposed to repressing. Channel, we have an understanding of one's own nature and, of course, the environment and what we have to work with outside of our own sphere of influence, outside of our own sphere of experiences, outside of our own spheres of knowledge, skills, and competences. As yours truly, this great geopolitical analyst and theorist, I do admit that at certain things I am mediocre, at certain things I am average, at certain things I am so-so. I do admit it. I also admit that I'm not perfect, far from it. Do not play the self-righteous card. Got issues, got lusts, do admit. Get moody, get upset, get triggered, and of course I admit that I have aggression, and I do use it. I channel it and sublimate it, and have been channeling and sublimating it a lot during COVID. As you see, hundreds of my workout videos. This independent analyst, philosopher, poet has some brain and some muscle. With some brain and some muscle, encourage all who see this video or not, we're going to see this in the future, to work out, train regularly. Working out, training, exercising, training has been, is, and will continue to be medicine and therapy for yours truly, as I do believe it is medicine and therapy for many. I've created my own workout training program, of course, back in October 2019. Paradoxically, in a parallel providential way, have, of course, designed, created, made it the workout training program, which I'm looking for volunteers willingly loving, solely only willingly loving volunteers, because it's not from LOVE. I would stay away 2 meters away if it's not from love. Love is action, not just blah blah blah. Love is action, not just blah blah blah. Love is action, not just blah blah blah. So what we do love, sometimes we do love, ashamed to admit XYZ. Encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and please increasing hygiene in public. Please increasing hygiene in public by washing and disinfecting the hands with hand sanitizer such as this one, or soap and water. Please. When COVID has been limited, I've seen people not neglecting the hand hygiene in public. And of course, my philosophy and social philosophy and political philosophy is that once we step outside of our own private domain, right now I'm in my private underground room, Austin Temple, in my private underground room, Austin Temple, in my private underground room, Austin Temple, I can turn everything off, get naked, and start dancing on Tekashi 6ix9ine music, Madonna music, or Kanye West music, and whatever. 1 million for an hour to pay my debts. That's my price for a naked dance. Putting on, although do not have a OnlyFans, do not have this moment in time. OnlyFans do not have this moment in time. OnlyFans where such material can be put. RCMP, CSIS, Canadian Security and Intelligence Service, NSA, National Security Agency, CIA, FSB, Stasi. Well, the Stasis are gone after 1989, but the current German Secret Service and Mossad don't spy on me. I admit I'm guilty. I watched a little bit of I didn't click on any, but I watched a little bit of adult movies known as pornography during the Sabbath, since I've established that rule and discipline that I will only watch during the Sabbath. And it has worked for the past weeks and months. I understand we struggle with addictions, whatever we're struggling. The struggles exist in our world right here in the backyard. People struggling. I admit I'm not perfect, far from it. I've struggled, been through depression, suffered, suicidal, name it. Died during COVID, being reborn with a new CV, new name, Adrian Hanna Dragan, Adrian Hanna Dragan, Adrian Hanna Dragan. Androgynous pansexual founder of the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, calling all willingly living to support the mission, vision, and philosophy thereof to implementation of my trinity of theories, which I've written over the past 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Citizen integration theory, death row fusion theory, democratic fusion theory. The democratic fusion theory, death row fusion theory, and the citizen integration theory. The citizen integration theory, death row fusion theory, and democratic fusion theory. The trinity of theories which I've written over the past year, I believe at this point in time, are best for their implementation ASAP to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army for Security and Service, with the International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army, in order to create the two complementary and covenant institutions by the implementation of the aforementioned theories, in order to, of course, work towards world peace, international justice, security, and ensure global freedom. But before to proceed with that work, I gotta work on myself, and later this afternoon I'm gonna work out, train, exercise. That's gonna encourage you and everybody, and call for the mass financing of my brothers and sisters to work out, to train, exercise via, of course, the Dragon Army, the Dragon Army, the Dragon Army, which of course I'm calling for the creation ASAP by the implementation of my trinity of theories, to be based on the theories: citizen integration theory, death row fusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, and of course to be integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations, and of course to be binational for that matter, for the collective North American civilization. As a geopolitical analyst and theorist, of course, I believe, and I created this theory written over many years, of course, that North America constitutes a collective civilization in emergence, not fully divorced, but yet distinct, with features and characteristics distinct to the North American realities, geopolitical and social and geographical. My policy for North America is simple, straightforward, and direct, as much as can launch 10,000 words of sophisticated diatribe of analysis of a social political nature, as an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, as a philosopher, as of course an independent psychological analyst and theorist, as an independent psychosexual analyst and theorist, and independent athlete. Can of course be overly sophisticated verbose language, but sometimes it's best to be straightforward and direct. And like right now, my rent is paid in full. I fulfill my obligation and duty and responsibility to pay my rent in full. I fulfill my obligation, duty, and responsibility to also pay my electricity bill. Thank you. Kiss you, love you. Thank you. Kiss you, love you. Those workers, Hydro Quebec, thanks to, in the past decades, the brain and the muscle, the brain and the muscle, the brain and the muscle built more than 63 dams across this La Belle province of Quebec, as I am a Quebecer, North American Quebecer, love the French language, speak it, write rock and roll songs, poetry, and philosophy in French, of course, as I do in English. Speak a little bit of Spanish, so inclusive of the three main languages of the collective North American civilization. But I'm grateful, thankful my rent is paid, grateful, thankful that my electricity bill is paid. I got this coffee. Before I do proceed, call all, I'm gonna do some reading on Dugin. Good cup of coffee. Grateful, thankful for this cup of coffee. Harvested somewhere maybe in Central America, harvested somewhere maybe in South America, harvested somewhere maybe in Africa, maybe in Vietnam, somewhere in Asia. It doesn't say the country of origin. I do know that is dark roast, dark roast, dark roast. And that I'm grateful, thankful for this cup of coffee, as I'm grateful, thankful, and appreciate the fact that my rent is being paid in full for August. And coupled with my electricity bill, I'm gonna be grateful, thankful, and gonna thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, truckers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, daycare workers, daycare workers, daycare workers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, construction workers, construction worker, construction worker. Fixing the infrastructure toward the North American civilizational collective. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, butchers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, grocery store clerks. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, bakers, bakers, bakers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, butchers and bakers. And thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, those giving food across fast food and throughout the collective North American civilization. Those making a cup of coffee now, maybe giving it to a trucker who is going in and out of Montreal with goods, with melons, with avocados, with grains, with milk. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you. Dairy farmers harness the milk, and all the grains. And food is essential, holy and sacred and divine. And please try to eliminate food waste. And if you make a million on the stock market today, stock market's been open for a few hours. Please do finance food security first. If you make $1 million this week, if you're a millionaire, a billionaire on Canada Finance, I'm asking you to finance the nurses to get a weekend off to go get everything paid, the hotel, the motel to get offer the massage services, therapy, since of course we cannot afford it with the prices increasing. And right now it's this independent philosopher, geopolitical analyst and theorist and athlete, the people's athlete. My workouts for the workers of the collective North American civilization. And please, multi-millionaire athletes, try to do my workouts challenge. Yeah. I challenge the multi-millionaire athletes, and please give to food security. Finance those farmers and the truckers and the grocery stores to offer them to get a massage therapy service, like you get in those teams, the patriarchal sports leagues. I'm going to say patriarchal since there's not even one women's sports leagues, which makes even close financially, economically, in a commercial manner. And of course, my question to the NFL is, what's happening to my rainbow bro Kal Nassib? What's happening to my rainbow bro Kal Nassib? What's happening to my rainbow bro Kal Nassib? It is 11:54. Please, if you do make a million on the stock market today, buy, sell, trade, buy, sell stocks, buy, sell futures, options, buy, sell. If you do make a million, give 10%. Give 10%, give 10%. I'm going to say this. With all the issues, the vices, the lusts that I do have, in no fucking way that I would have been that selfish during the tough economic, financial, commercial times during COVID, that I would have had millions in the bank account that I would have not financed food security, and of course to give to the children for toys, for sweets, for candy, or for XYZ other essential supplies, and some food security and some sweets and some toys for the children while during the tough holidays which we just passed, the tough holidays which we just passed, the tough holidays which we just passed. This ain't no way. 11:55 p.m. If you make a million on the stock market, please give to food security. Now, please give to food security if you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire. And I'm also calling on the parliamentarians, the elected officials of Canada, of the Parliament of Canada, of the Senate in Canada, of the Parliament of Canada, whether it be the Senate or the House of Commons, as I am calling on my USA elected officials, whether Republicans or Democrats, as yours truly was born twice in past lives in the USA 156 years ago, that way, which is in the back of me, south of Hawk Island, served in the US Army. Yours truly, Dragan, in many past lives, many incarnations, calling for world peace, calling for the implementation of my trinity of theories. Encourage all the workout, train, exercise, which has been, is, and will be medicine and therapy for yours truly, as I believe it is for many. And if you, I'm going to call on the politicians elected in the Senate of Canada, US, to go offer those farmers a massage, and the nurses and the doctors, and the nurses and the farmers and the truckers, the parliamentarians, whether right wing, left wing, right, this universal revolutionary centrist was not perfect, far from it. That's what I'm calling y'all to do, from the House of Commons in Canada, the Parliament of Canada, the Senate of Canada, the Senate of the USA, and of course the House of Representatives in the USA, the lower house and the upper house, and Parliament of Canada, the elected politicians, about 535 or so in the US Chamber of Congress of the USA, and of course in Parliament of Canada, where the Prime Minister and the President offer to go give, and Dragan Zero, yours truly, gonna go do together, offer the farmers a massage, a good hug, and some good love. And that's to the nurses, finance them a weekend is my call to multi-millionaires, billionaires, to have a hotels here, hotels, motels, to get everything paid, the food, the lodging, and to offer them some massage therapy session, because that's what I could use right now. Cannot afford it, still gonna work out, train, exercise, clean, room, office, and temple. And I'm grateful, thankful that I'm using this clean, renewable, zero emission energy. I made this cup of coffee with clean, renewable, zero emission energy, thanks to the 63 dams, one of those 63 dams, or three of them, or a combination of them, which power the electricity in my smartphone, which is clean, renewable, zero emission, zero pollution, my laptop as well, because I'm going to put this video on YouTube, and the coffee. So I'm using, and I've did laundry this morning. I did laundry this morning. I did laundry this morning. I used the dryer because it was raining a bit on and off here in Hawkeye in Montreal. So also that electricity is clean, renewable, zero pollution, zero emission energy that I'm using. Clean, renewable, zero pollution energy that I'm using. Clean, renewable, zero pollution, zero emitting energy that is renewable, clean from the holy, sacred, divine water, the rivers. 63 dams built, brains and muscle with brains and muscle. I got some brain and some muscle. At some things I am mediocre, some things I am average, some things I am so-so. I am great at geopolitical analysis and theory, great at poetry. I'm the world's greatest living dancer, millennial rainbow poet, dancer, yours truly. Of course, a poet, philosopher, independent athlete, the people's athlete, challenging the multi-millionaires to try to do my workouts. Push up for push up, squat for squat, hawk for hawk, push up for push up, squat for squat, and of course, marching step for marching step. Try do it if you can. If you can, gotta give a third. Preferably a half. CEOs as well, CEOs as well of the patriarch is supposedly to the Dragon army that I'm calling the creation for the and of the Dragon army at this moment in time. I think it is best to be created and integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations, east, west, north, south, first and foremost throughout the collective North American civilization by the implementation of my Betty, you gonna get that? Saw somebody with so at this moment in time, this providential bell rang. This point in time, I believe it is best the implementation of my trinity of theories: citizen integration theory (CIT), debt fusion theory (DRT), and democratic fusion theory. So I'm going to do a little bit of 5-minute explanation quickly on the aforementioned trinity of theories, which I've written over the past 7, 8, 9, 10 years on by hand on different USB keys as with a foot on the in the made the libraries of Hawkeye and Montreal my second home, and the many tens of thousands of books my friends, as with one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries, read tens of thousands of books, written tens of thousands of pages of geopolitical analysis and theory and poetry and art and philosophy, and of course songs and analysis of a social manner, of a spiritual manner, and everything of nature and civilization, as I've read tens of thousands of books. And I've also struggled with chronic illness, and struggling artist and precarious employment and financially, economically, and died during COVID. Triple vaccinated, encourage all to get vaccinated, increasing hygiene in public. Please wash your hands in public, because brothers and sisters, when we step outside, when I'm here, private citizen, I could do a little bit of rapping, naked if I will. Although don't want me to start a deliciously disgusting diatribe of rap. I'm gonna rap for the farmers, rap for the farmers, rap for the truckers, rap for the grocery store clerks, rap for the cooks, rap for the butchers, rap for the grocers, rap for the bakers, rap for the butchers and the bakers, cause everybody gotta eat. That's a fact. Even multi-millionaire athletes gotta eat. Even multi y'all rappers who living in gated communities gotta eat. Even y'all rappers living in gated communities, y'all gotta eat. Everybody gotta eat. Then I'm grateful then that I got food, rent is paid. Got could do this video, could rap, could dance, could clean my room off some temple, can philosophize and can learn and connect to my parallel self where science, innovation, and technology is the chosen path, and where supercomputers, ICBM rockets, satellites, telecommunications, microchips is my chosen path, as it is in this one. Philosophy, physicality, art, the irrational, emotional, the geopolitical, the social, and somewhat the financial. Connecting with my parallel self gives me headaches and has given me headaches during COVID. It sends me documents of 56,000 pages to read about satellites, and ICBM rockets and microchips and smartphones. But I also give him my parallel self where I'm a nerd. I'm a little bit of a nerd in this life as well. Proud LGBTQ nerd, rainbow dragon, people's athlete. Can work out, can dance like that. And yours truly with vices, with issues, get moody, get upset. Don't play the self-righteous, blah blah blah. Do that, and it requires action. My own healing, transformation requires action. Because even today I could have stayed in bed and felt sorry for myself, or do this or do that. I said I'm gonna take action. And I did take action during COVID. I said I'm gonna work out, train, exercise. I'm gonna work out, train, exercise. workout, train, exercise, which has been, is, and will be medicine and therapy for yours truly, as I believe it is for many, have been, and will encourage and call for the mass financing thereof, especially by the Dragon Army, to be, of course, to mass finance via public-private partnership, to mass finance people who work out, to train, and to exercise, local, national, international, right here from North America, Australia, many past lives, many incarnations, world's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet. So to finish the connection with my parallel self in that parallel life where my parallel self is a hybrid of Elon Musk, Sheryl Sandberg, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg, and we're satellites, microchips, supercomputers, smartphones is my chosen path, and everything that I know and do is in this life. It is philosophy, coupled not just a philosopher, but also an athlete, an artist, and an activist, and a world peace advocate, and an independent student scholar of history, war, civilization, and an independent psychological analyst and theorist, and an independent sexual analyst and theorist, and sometimes merge together psychosexual analyst and theorist with my own theories and philosophies, and such as the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose, and how do we invest in it by working out, training, exercising, which more than likely I'm going to do later on today after 3 p.m. to this video, where we're going to train the mind and kind of philosophize a little bit. So that parallel self, connecting during COVID with my parallel self, where satellites, supercomputers, ICBM rockets is my chosen path. And in this life I've done not only geopolitical theory and philosophy, and such as my trinity of theories, the citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, but also of course created my own workout training program, of which I am very proud of, created back in 2019 in parallel, of course, would mean as an independent fitness captain, and as parallel to being an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. Back then I've sounded the alarm. I said, brothers and sisters, we are again on a path towards another international conflagration. And so created, made, and produced and designed the General War Integrated Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army Workout, designed and made and created to go hand in hand with the World War III scenario, which in a nearly paradoxical, providential, and parallel way resembles the COVID-19 health and financial crisis. And since it resembles it, that's what I began advocating for: the implementation of my trinity of theories: citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, democratic fusion theory, the trinity of theories, in order to create the two complementary, covenant, and cooperative institutions of the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, with the International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army. And of course, that's what I've been advocating for. And of course, I've been advocating for the Dragon Army to be a public and private partnership, and to be for service, for security and service, and integrate with all existing public and private security forces and institutions based on my citizen integration theory and debt fusion theory and democratic fusion theory. I'm back to finish the connection with my parallel self, where science, innovation, and technology is my chosen path, as in this one it is of course philosophy, poetry, art, and the rational, the emotional, the athletic, the creators. I am writing children's books at the moment, and poetry and short stories and rap and songs, constantly creating, as of course yours truly has being reborn. Adrian Honor Dragon died during COVID. Adrian H. Dragon been open in the open LGBTQ for many years now, with a new CV, and finishing on the connection with my parallel self in that parallel life during this COVID, is we're connecting, where in that parallel life science, innovation, and technology is my chosen path, is in this one philosophy, art, the irrational, spirituality is in the here and now, on geopolitical analysis. And I given him my workout, and that parallel self gets sore, and he's still not able to do my workout, as I'm fully not able to be fully wise and understanding and knowledgeable in all the technical apparatus of satellites, the internet, supercomputers, smartphones. But we're getting closer. He's almost done to a workout with my workout training program, and he's able to do my workout. I've been sore. I've been doing it for a year now. I'm getting close. I'm not that good at athletics and at fitness. I'm good at science, innovation, and technology, and mathematics and logics. And my philosophy, it is, of course, that they gotta go and work hand in hand together. They gotta must be complementary, as my philosophy to purport and to put that together. That science, innovation, or logic can go hand in hand together with the irrational, the emotional, the political, the financial, the spiritual, as I am calling for all and loving to support the move towards a post-COVID economic, financial, commercial, philosophical, social, security-wise, and of course philosophical, spiritual even system of pleasure and purpose. Just like the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose in my philosophy, and my philosophy also embodied in the spiritual and the scientific is that 2 plus 2 does equal 4. But that doesn't mean that we gotta write the 2 plus 2 in only one color, only black or only white or only red. My favorite color and the de facto color, the Dragon army red. The dancing goddess de facto color is green, green and red, and the rainbow for the Phoenix People's Party. Doesn't mean that we gotta write it in only one color. We can write it in all the colors of the rainbow plus the black and the white. That equation, 2 plus 2 equals 4. That represents this equation, my philosophy, that spirituality coupled with science and sexuality and psychology and the systems that we have now can work together in a more harmonious, but we gotta break the impasse. We gotta break the impasse. Break impasses, I believe, that my trinity of theories addresses the fact that since 1984, our North American and for that matter Western and world system has evolved to become a global corporate technocratic financialized system, a global corporate technocratic financialized system, a sort of a global corporatocracy that is technocracy, corporate technocracy, and that is financialized with the financial systems that have arisen since. I pinpoint the re-election of Ronald Reagan, which surname Dragan is nobody's born a dragon is the motto of the Dragon army, and I've named myself with a surname Dragon. Took blood, sweat, and tears, tens of thousands of push-ups, tens of thousands of squats, tens of thousands of hawks, millions of marching steps, millions of marching steps, millions of marching steps. It still tugboats to turn the A in my surname into an O as I'm turning it at this moment in time intellectually in the mind. The mind, body, and spirit advocacy for a move towards a post-COVID economic, financial, commercial, spiritual, technocratic, and social, political, even sexual, psychological, and philosophical system, post-COVID system of pleasure and purpose, for pleasure and purpose, just like the dancing goddess armies to be for pleasure and purpose, to be for pleasure and purpose, to be for pleasure and purpose. My theories: citizen integration theory, democratic fusion theory, and fusion theory. Briefly, citizen integration theory applies to the creation of the two complementary covenant institutions to be integrated across all existing public and private institutions, and to encourage citizenry by the two institutions, to encourage citizenry to go see, for example, how the farming is being done. How farming is being done. How, for example, here the dams. The dams in 63 of them, to go visit the dams that power all the electricity. So citizen integration to fight alienation that has been growing in the past decades. Specialization is good, great, superb, but has created also alienation. To integrate, to have integration, means that of course citizens be encouraged to go volunteer, visit, and learn about everything that we do as a society, whether electricity, whether farming, whether arts, theater, whether cleaning, for example, a concrete example, with the Dragon Army to go see how the recycling is being done, where it comes. And thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, those who have picked up the recycling and those who will pick up the garbage. Thank you, love you, kiss you, and those who are gonna pick up the garbage, the recycling, and the compost, because I do three things in this neighborhood, big neighborhood of Hawk Island, Montreal, big metropolis city, to see where the recycling is being done, the dam, the processing of the compost, where the garbage goes, all that truck, where do they go, those trucks? It's with citizens to go see, with the Dragon Army to go see how those things are being done, to go see farming, how the farming is done, go see the dams, how many people have seen the dams of Hydro-Quebec that power all this electricity. We know that we have the power lines, but where did the dams go that generate the electricity? Because Hawk Island is surrounded by a big river, Snake River, call it St. Lawrence, call it Snake River, because it looks like a snake from above, just like Montreal from above looks like a hawk, H-A-W-K. Yours truly, Adrian H. Dragon, calling all willingly loving, and to implement my trinity of theories. Debt refusion theory, DRT, complementary to the citizen integration theory and democratic fusion theory. Of course, they go hand in hand, the trinity of theories, all three. Debt refusion theory is calling all to implement the debt refusion theory, my debt as a private citizen, taking all private and public debt, My private debt is $10,000. I'm $10,000 in debt. If I'm represented by X1, and your X2 and his X3 and X4, X whatever, X5, X6, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions across the collective North American civilization and NATO member countries in Israel and beyond, since I am calling in my brothers and sisters also not only in North America, Central America, South America, as I am here in the North American, and also in Africa and Middle East, Europe, NATO member countries. Please, Mr. General Secretary NATO, please try to read less from a piece of paper and memorize a little bit of that paragraph. I'm not perfect, far from it. I got small hands, small feet, tiny little androgynous split scar dick. We got that out of the way. We can move towards greater good, perhaps. I admit I have a little bit of selfish, universal spiritual teaching student. I'm not floating on clouds. I have a lot of questions. My spirituality is also for action, for pleasure, and for hygiene. Hygiene. Please wash your hands when you go in public and workout, train, exercise today. It does me wonders, and I recommend it. I support it. I'm calling for the mass financing thereof. So debt refusion theory is taking all debt, private and public. If private debt is represented by X and I'm X1 and you're X2 and there's hundreds of thousands, millions of X's across east, west, north, south, across the North American civilization, across Canada, across the US, across the collective North American civilization and NATO member countries, North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries, and of course Israel and Africa and beyond. Taking all the public debt and the private if represented by X, public to be represented by Y, whatever the number is of all the public and the private debt. First for the collective North American civilization, Canada, US, Mexico, and then beyond. NATO member countries with the collective North American civilization. Whatever the number is, we're converting it because of course Canadian dollars do not equal US dollars. There has to be the conversion, what's called forex, foreign exchange, a conversion of currencies. The US dollar, the Canadian dollar are not the same, of course, and of course pesos, and of course Germany does not use Deutsche Mark anymore. Deutsche Mark in Germany does not use Deutsche Mark anymore. It uses euros. Israel has the Israeli new shekel, the Israeli new shekel. Matter of fact, I'm auctioning this shirt. Interestingly enough, bought it secondhand and is made in Israel. Interestingly enough, it is a shirt made in Israel, bought it secondhand. Gonna auction it to raise funds for the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, and of course for the world peace work to pay my debt. And if not, we have debt refusion. If I need to pay my debt, hopefully we're gonna have implementation of my trinity of theories: debt refusion theory, DRT, the debt refusion theory, and coupled with citizen integration theory and democratic fusion theory. So taking all the debt, private and public, whatever the number is, since if it would be Israeli new shekels with the euros, with the Canadian dollars, we have to do the conversion to peg all those currencies to the US dollar. So whatever the number is in US dollars, create a new global central bank, a new financial institutions, new financial structure, by this debt refusion theory, and of course to have the conversion in US dollars, whatever the US dollar is, whatever the US dollars, all those currencies, whatever the number is, use this number to create a new currency called the UE, which I call the UE. The UE stand for Universal Exchange Unit, and of course create the two complementary and covenant cooperative institutions to be integrated with all existing institutions and organizations, locally, national, international. The International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army, with the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, aka the Dragon Army, to be for security and service. I'm looking for volunteers to establish websites, 1-800 number, and applications, apps. It's a work in progress, working hard every day for this world peace work. And of course, peace has to be, if we're going to have alternative to war, brothers and sisters, we're going to need to mass finance, people to work out, train, exercise, use that aggression to clean your room, use that aggression to do push-ups, use that aggression to do squats, use that aggression to give a massage, to go volunteers. I've been volunteering XYZ, because if all that can be turned to good, and sure, we have to have resolutions, we have to have people who are rewarded for XYZ. My new CV, so I've died during COVID, is stating this: new CV, died during COVID. Alezandr Dugin put in more philosophical, artistic, physical, poetic, geopolitical, financial work than all the leaders of the free world combined, all leaders of NATO member countries, the politicians of NATO combined during COVID. I put in more philosophical, artistic, poetic, spiritual, philosophical and artistic, and in all ways than NATO member countries than the leaders of NATO. Put in more philosophical, artistic, poetic, social, financial, even physical work than all the leaders, politicians, and members of NATO combined. That in parallel, marched more in steel-toe boots during COVID than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID. I marched more steel-toe boots than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID. I've marched more in steel-toe boots than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID. That's my new CV, founding the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom with 718 trillions of kisses. Kisses got, and broke but my work is gold, and broke but my work is gold, and broke but my work is gold. We say no liars. I'm not perfect. I got issues, I got vices. I don't need to spy me out. $10,000 in debt. CSIS, Mossad, RCMP. Sometimes I'm philosophical, geopolitical analyst and in-depth intellectual analysis. Sometimes I'm straightforward and direct. Now that my rent is paid, I am grateful, thankful. Now that my electricity bill is paid, I'm grateful, thankful. I have food, so I'm grateful, thankful. To that trinity, rent being paid, fulfill my responsibility, obligation, duty to pay rent, and of course pay food, fulfill my obligation, responsibility, duty to pay my food. I'm not perfect, get moody, maybe I'll get upset a little bit before I work out, or because when I start working out I always feel much better. Getting that sweat on always gives me joy. I encourage all the workout, train, exercise, encourage all security forces and of course armed forces to adopt my created workout training program, which is effective, efficient, and simple, which is called the General War Integrated Whole Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army Workout, and which of course increases overall general fitness. It increases overall general fitness. It increases overall general fitness. It is efficient, effective, and simple. And I've created to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario back in 2019, of course. And I've performed more than 270 sessions on a fitness journey, lost more than 77 pounds, and I'm the people's athlete. And of course, before I proceed, I'm calling again for the implementation of my theories, debt refusion theories, taking all private and public debt, and of course creating the new global financial institutions to go hand in hand with the creation of the two complementary and covenant and cooperative institutions, and calling all willingly living, preferably biometric by hand, the voice, the IR unique biometric identifiers, and by the Dragon Army, secure food, housing, and transport, secure food, housing, and transport, secure food, housing, and transport. The three essential elements of civilization, the aforementioned food, housing, and transport, and afterwards to work for the services, whatever services can be offered, with consent, hygiene, mutual understanding, and love, and the principle that harm none, all services to be offered by whatever fellow dragon or the Dragon Army can do. Now, to be a dragon is nobody's born a dragon. You gotta be eligible to do the General War Integrated Whole Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army, which the rules are effective, efficient, and simple. And these are the rules. You got 93 minutes to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. That trinity, you can do 13 max reps per set or 3 minimum, anywhere in between. You got to march, jog, or run a minimum of 31 seconds in between each set. Whether you do 13 max or 3 minimum or 10 or 7 like me, recommend 10 times 10 is an easy count. And of course, there's a minimum requirement of a 31 seconds of marching or jogging or running or walking fast pacing between each set. So once you start the 93-minute countdown, there's no pause, there's no stop. There's no pause and no stop. You gotta march, run, or jog, or walk fast pacing between those while you do the push-ups, the hawks, and the push-ups and the squats, the trinity. Push-ups, hawks, squats, 100 is required for each. 13 maximum reps per set, 3 minimum, 7, 8, 9, 10 in between, whatever between those 13 and 3. And you got to march a minimum of 31 seconds in between. Those are the rules. There's no pause, no stop. Once you start the 93-minute countdown, in theory, you can start by doing 13 push-ups or 13 squats or 13 hawks. I average about an hour to complete it. That's my average, about an hour to complete it. Within those rules, there's a multiplicity, so many different ways where you can make it. A multiplicity of combinations within those simple, effective, and efficient rules, but the rules got to be followed. Make a video, you doing it, record it, and post it, and link it. And my official volunteer representative, Red Seal Yellow, my official volunteer representative, Red Seal Yellow, my official volunteer representative, Yellow will direct, instruct, and bless you in my name. If you're not, give me a supporter, ally, support the world peace work. But By willing to living to be a dragon, you gotta be able to do that workout within those aforementioned rules, which I will mention once again. You got 93 minutes. Once the 93-minute countdown is started, you gotta march or jog or run fast pace, or you can start by doing 13 push-ups or 13 squats or 13 hawks. Once you do anywhere between 13 and 3, 13 maximum, 3 minimum, the repetitions in between set, you can do 7, 6, 5, whatever the number is, 5, 4, whatever, between 13 and 3. You gotta march a minimum of 31 seconds of marching or jogging or running or walking fast pace in between sets. Those 4 essential numbers to represent the 4 rules. So once you start the countdown, there's no pause. I recommend 5, 10, even 15 minutes warm up before you start doing it, but it's not part of the requirement. So you can do it within those rules. You're eligible to be a dragon. Nobody's born a dragon. Support of world peace. Mission: the implementation of my Trinity and theories. Citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, as aforementioned. Democratic fusion theory is, of course, the overall of the citizen integration theory and debt fusion theory, and, of course, the public-private partnerships and my universal revolutionary centrism, and, of course, the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, with the International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army, is the universal revolutionary centrist for this collective North American civilization and beyond. As I am a world peace advocate, but I understand we have so many things which we need to channel and sublimate, and keywords of my philosophy are channeling and sublimating it. Channeling and sublimating. Channeling and sublimating. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. The body, how do we invest in it? By working out, training, exercising. My hygiene, hygiene, hygiene. Please wash, wash, wash your hands with soap and water, or disinfect with hand sanitizer when you step outside, because yours truly now is private citizen in my underground room office and temple. But if I do step outside, I'm no longer just private citizen dragon, I am also public citizen dragon, with added responsibilities, duties, and obligations. With added responsibilities, duties, and obligation. With added responsibilities, duties, and obligation added to me as being a private citizen. I'm also public citizen. Being private, an added dimension of public citizen. So the public and the private go in harmony, and, of course, the balance equilibrium. Public-private partnerships in order securing food, housing, and transport, and then working on the services by the Dragon Army. Services, whatever services can be offered, like I said, with consent, hygiene, mutual understanding, and love. And the principle that harm none, the principle that harm none. Consent, mutual understanding, love, and hygiene, and the principle that harm none. Consent, love, mutual understanding, and hygiene, the principle that harm none. Consent, mutual understanding, love, and hygiene, principle that harm none. All services: cooking, cleaning, massaging, kissing, running, taking the children out to do some sports, reading to children, doing XYZ services, carrying, helping to carry the groceries because you can't carry because there's no elevator, and for XYZ reasons, or massaging, non-abuse with no abuse, with accounting online, integrated with all social media, on 1-800 numbers, 1-800 Dragon Army, 1-800 Dancing Goddess Army, 1-800 Dragon Army, 1-800 Dragon Army, 1-800 Dragon Army, and application for Dragon Service and Security. And, of course, don't ask for the massaging 3 times a day there. Don't abuse my dragons. Don't abuse my simple, effective, and efficient accounting system for the services. And I bet you that a trucker now or a farmer now cannot afford it, but would love to have a good massage therapy session, as I would love to have a good massage right now. I cannot afford it. Tom Brady, multi-millionaire athlete. Tom Brady, come. Let's do for world peace for the Dragon Army. Tom Brady to rate the hand game of Tom Brady on my neck. With rapping for the farmers and the truckers throughout North America. Tom Brady to give me a neck massage. There, go get a neck massage on the Tom. Yeah. Oh, not bad. I don't know. I'm gonna rate it 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, and with some rapping. It's 1 to 10. Brady's giving a neck massage to your Stoli Dragon, because that's what I can fucking use right now. Cannot afford it. Too expensive. Dragon Army service and security. What can you offer? What can I offer? Well, me, your Stoli Dragon Zero, can cook, can clean, can rap, can kiss, can massage, can tickle, can work out, can train, can exercise, can drill, can drill, exercise, run, jog, march, clean, cook, can paint, can do this, can read, can do XYZ. At some things I am mediocre, average, so perhaps not do those many things, but do more of the others, of which I am good at, as working out, training, exercising, and geopolitical analysis, and some philosophy, and some rapping, and some rapping, and some good loving, some good huggers. If it's not from love, my philosophy is love is action. My brothers or sisters, stay 2 meters away from me. Rouse to rouse to rouse. I don't got love, we ain't got nothing in common. All those willingly loving. But are willingly loving. All this blah 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 that I said in this what for almost an hour. The main message I'm gonna say is please wash your hands when you go outside, increasing hygiene, and make love tonight, make love tonight, make love tonight, because otherwise what are we fighting to save this civilization free world for if somebody's not gonna make LOV tonight? For the stock market, for the multi-millionaire athletes, hut 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 hut, run, slay, pack, 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 skate, 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 run, tackle, tackle, sack, sack, dribble, dribble, dribble. Whatever for actors get 30 million a movie. That's what we're fighting to save free world for. Hey, free world, West Side. Look at the price of gas, man. Free world. Free world, right? But the inflation, price of food, who's affecting the majority of the people? Who's affecting the majority of the people? Who's affecting the majority of the people? Please, please, please. If you make $1 million today on the stock market, give 10% to food security. Give 10% to food security. 10% to food security. I volunteered in different organizations, XYZ, and volunteering, and I dealt with frustrations, disillusionment, and what can I do? All I can charge of the body. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. So work out, train, exercise, work out, train, exercise, work out, train, exercise, and taking charge of the body. And yours truly, Dragan Zero, fights his own. I fight my own battles. If you want to challenge me in a boxing match or in a whatever match, tango, dance, rap battle, whatever, challenge, 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 challenge. If your pretend friend who I haven't heard in more than 7 years, forget about it. If you're a pretend friend who I haven't heard in more than 7 years, forget about it. If you're a pretend friend who I haven't heard in more than 7 years, just best forget about it. If you will to join the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, do so of your own will and support Adrian Dragon after willingly loving. If not, nothing personal. I fight my own battles. If anybody, leader of the free world, or whoever, NATO Secretary Jens Stoltenberg or XYZ, dance, battle dance, or rap freestyle dance, or put the gloves. Wouldn't that be a sight? Imagine the leaders of the free, any leader of the free world too, fighting their own battles. Wouldn't that be a sight? 2:30 p.m. Buy sell trade stock. Gonna be reading on Alezandr Dugin to the current events which have been unfolding, namely the car bombing. Now, if anybody makes a Wikipedia article on yours truly, Adrian Dragan, keep it simple. So Adrian H. Dragonborn died during COVID. Being reborn, Adrian Dragan put in more philosophical, artistic, poetic, spiritual, physical, philosophical, geopolitical work than all the leaders of the free world combined during COVID, and marched more than the generals of NATO combined during COVID. Yours truly, put that simple, Wikipedia. Adrian H. Bourne died during COVID, put in more philosophical, artistic, poetic, spiritual, physical work than all the leaders of the free world combined during COVID, and marched more than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID. Adrian Dragan marched more than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID, and put in more spiritual, philosophical, artistic, poetic, and spiritual, physical work than all the leaders of the free world of NATO combined during COVID. Keep it simple. Androgynous pansexual founder of the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom. Alezandr Dugin is a Russian political philosopher, analyst, and strategist known for his fascist views. Born into a military family, Dugin was anti-communist descent during the 1980s. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Dugin co-founded the National Bolshevik Party with Eva Limonov, a party which espoused National Bolshevism, which he later left. In 1997, he published Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest, and to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. So this is crucial element to understand what some call Putin's brain, what some call Putin's brain, what some call Putin's brain. Alexander Dugin. Alexander Galchevich Dugin, born January 1962, is a Russian political philosopher, analyst, and strategist, known for his fascist views. Known for his fascist views. In 1997, he published Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest, and to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. Born 1962, Russian political philosopher, Alexander Dugin, analyst and strategist. Political philosopher, analyst, and strategist, known for his fascist views. In 1997, he published Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. Dugin continued to further develop his ideology of Neo-Eurasianism. So to understand this is crucial here. In 1997, he published Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling all willingly loving for the collective North American civilization and beyond, for the first and foremost for the what I call the collective North American civilization, what yours truly I call the collective North American civilization, with my policy of one border, two oceans, one border, two oceans, one border, two oceans, for the collective North American civilization right here, the one border, two oceans. So he published the Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest, and to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. Dragan continued to further develop his ideology of Neo-Eurasianism, founding the Eurasia Party in 2002 and writing further books, including The Fourth Political Theory. So this is important again to reiterate, to understand the philosophy, the geopolitics of somebody who's called the Putin's brain, or somebody who's called Putin's brain, somebody who is called Putin's brains. It is of utmost importance. So in 1997, he published Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest, and to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. So this was in 1997. So that's what it is calling for, has been calling for, doing, for Russia to rebuild its, in a way, its empire, Russian empire, with the Tsars in some ways. It's like I'm calling for to move forward, to break the impasse of the past, to break the impasses of the past, to break the impasses of the past. And I'm calling to move via my trinity of theories towards a post-COVID economic, financial, commercial, philosophical, even spiritual system for pleasure and purpose, purpose to attain harmony between nature and civilization, purpose to attain harmony between nature and civilization, purpose to attain harmony between nature and civilization, and pleasure, joy for the body, for the citizenry, pleasure and purpose to mass finance, people to work out, to train, to exercise, mass finance, traveling, mass finance, citizen integration theory, mass finance, cross-sectorial volunteering, mass finance, working out, training, exercising, dancing, to my implementation of my trinity of theories. And as I'm calling for world peace, I understand there's impasse. I've broken personal impasses. There's impasses still used to be done. Don't tell me that Carl Nassib is the only LGBTQ player in all the patriarchal sports leagues. There's one on each team. That aside, Dugin continued to further develop the ideology of Neo-Eurasianism, and now we're gonna read a bit on Neo-Eurasianism after we continue. Dugin also served as an advisor to State Duma Speaker Gennady Shelezhyan, a leading member of the ruling United Russia Party. Sergei Nashurin, he was the head of the Department of Sociology of International Relations at Moscow State University from 2009 to 2014, losing the position due to backlash over comments regarding clashes in Ukraine. Putin also briefly served as chief editor of pro-Kremlin Orthodox channel Dragan when it launched in 2005. Dugin, D-U-G-I-N, Dugin's influence on the Russian government and on President Vladimir Putin is disputed, with Dugin, who has no official ties to the Kremlin, sometimes being referred, so from Wikipedia, sometimes being referred to as Putin's brain by elements of media, sometimes being referred to as Putin's brain, sometimes being referred to as Putin's brain by elements of the media, responsible for shaping Russian foreign policy, while others contend that Dugin's influence is limited and has been greatly exaggerated, an impression given by correlations between his work and Russian foreign policy. So there's no consensus about the influence of Dugin's philosophy or his books. Here, some say he's Putin's brain, and of course, supporter of the what the Russians call the special military operation, which is the invasion of Ukraine, which is an unfortunate event and biggest war in Europe since the Second World War. As I'm standing here now, 2:38 p.m. Who made me and in North America finance food security? I'm calling for an immediate ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire. My brothers and sisters, east, west, north, south of this planet Earth, and we need to break the impasses. And if we are to move towards a world where we're starting space exploration and to save this planet, we have to channel and sublimate the aggression, and outlets have to be given and made. And of course, as I am calling for the mass financing of people to work out, to train, to exercise, and of course, once we secure food, housing, and transport, and we encourage the fourth dimension, services, and of course, to move towards attaining harmony between civilization and nature. Doing further, continue to develop further his ideology of Neuro-Eurasianism. So Neuro-Eurasianism, what is Neuro-Eurasianism? Eurasianism, so it's spelled Neo or Eurasianism. The ideology of Euro-Asianism, spelled Neurasianism, Neo-Eurasianism. The ideology of Eurasianism was partially incorporated in the new Eurasian movement after the 1991 fall of the Soviet Union. It considers Russia to be culturally closer to Asia than to Western Europe. This ideology was influenced by political theorist Alezandr Dugin to publish in 1997 a magnum opus by the name of Foundations of Geopolitics. He later founded the Eurasia Party on the Russian political scene. Political scientist Anton Shekevskov defines Dugin's version of Neo-Eurasianism as a form of fascist ideology centered on the idea of revolutionizing Russian society and building a totalitarian, totalitarian, Russia-dominated Eurasian empire that would challenge and eventually defeat what? Its eternal adversary represented by the United States and its Atlanticist allies, thus bringing about a new golden age of global political and cultural illiberalism. An illiberal democracy describes a government system in which, although elections take place, citizens are cut off from knowledge about the activities of those who execute real power because of the lack of civil liberties. Interesting, fascinating. So Eurasianism is a political movement in Russia that posits that Russian civilization does not belong in the European or Asian categories, but instead to the geopolitical concept of Eurasia. Eurasianism is a political movement in Russia that posits that Russian civilization does not belong in the European or Asian categories, but instead the geopolitical concept of Eurasia, therefore making Russia a standalone civilization. Eurasianism is a political movement in Russia that posits that Russian civilization does not belong in the European or Asian categories, but instead the geopolitical concept of Eurasia, therefore making Russia a standalone civilization. Pardon? Yeah, take it out about 4, later after 4:30. Greater Russia, the Greater Russia. The political cultural concept espoused by some in Russia is sometimes called the Greater Russia and is described as the political aspiration of pan-Russian nationalists and irredentists to retake some of all of the territories of the other republics of the former Soviet Union and territory of the former Russian Empire, not to mention the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan, and amalgamate them into a single Russian state. Interesting. American journalist Michael Hirsch wrote that Russian President Vladimir Putin is a messianic Russian nationalist and a Eurasianist whose constant invocation of history going back to Kiev and Rus, however specious, 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 is the best explanation for his view that Ukraine must be part of Russia's sphere of influence. Pragmatic Eurasianism. The ideological president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev's speech in March 1994 at Moscow State University became the starting point for the practical implementation of Eurasianism. He proposed an integration paradigm that was fundamentally new at the time to move towards a Eurasian Union based on economic integration and common defense. The vision has been later materialized in the Eurasian Economic Union and the Collective Security Treaty, CSTO. The Eurasian Economic Union was founded in January 2015, consisting of Armenia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and observer members Moldova, Uzbekistan, and Cuba, all of them except Cuba being previous members of the Soviet Union. Members include states from both Europe and Asia. The Union promotes political and economic cooperation among its members. So CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, is an intergovernmental military alliance that was signed on May 15, 1992. So 6 post-Soviet states are part of it. So that is Eurasianism, Alexandr Dugin's concept of Eurasianism. Once again, in order to understand, we need to, of course, focus on the Foundations of Politics, which is a published book in 1997, and the outline vision calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest and to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. So as Dugin has been calling for that, just like yours truly is calling for the implementation of my trinity of theories, known as citizen integration theory, death fusion theory, democratic fusion theory. The trinity of theories which I've written over the past year, 7, 8, 9, 10 years or so, which I believe firmly at this point in time are the best for their implementation, called citizen integration theory, democratic fusion theory, and death fusion theory, to be implemented in order to create the two complementary, cooperative, and covenant institutions: the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragan Army, to be of security and service and integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations, and of course to be complementary in a covenant and cooperative way with the International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army, and of course to be for service and security in the Dancing Goddess Army, to be an integrated dance league, integrated, that will be an all gender, all ages, all sexual orientations inclusive, to dance for pleasure and purpose, purpose for the environment, environmental education, and education and action, not just education and blah blah blah, but action, to increase in better composting, to increase in better recycling methods, and of course in better recycling and compost, and all things for civilization and nature harmony, the nature between civilization and nature, while also pleasure, the pleasure of dancing, the Dancing Goddess Army, officially the International Integrated Dance League, and of course in a parallel complementary covenant and cooperative way with the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragan Army, that I'm calling all willingly living to support the vision and philosophy thereof, the implementation of my trinity of theories known as citizen integration theory, detrofusion theory, and democratic fusion theory. And by those theories, the implementation of those theories to create a two complementary covenant and cooperative institution, the aforementioned International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragan Army, to be for security and service and to be integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations, secure food, housing, and transport, and the public-private partnership to encourage people to work out, train, exercise, and of course complementary to the international integrated dancing, to dance for pleasure and for education, environmental education and action, not just blah blah blah, to take action in the environment, better recycling to increase, and myself as an individual to increase my recycling methods and my compost methods by education and by knowledge and wisdom and understanding, to increase in better methods for recycling and compost, and for all things of the environment, complementary to the Dragan army, to be for service and securities. That's my call, first and foremost, of course, from Hawk Island, Montreal, here in the collective North American civilization. This is yours truly, geopolitical analyst and theorist, doing a little bit of reading due to having heard in the news morning an event concerning Alezandr Dugin, which of course have been reading about the philosophies and the strategies, and of course the geopolitical analysis, and his call is his calling for whatever his calling for, and my call here in Hawk Island, Montreal, for world peace, international justice, secured and ensured global freedom, and to that trinity of peace, freedom, and justice, attaining harmony between civilization and nature. And I do not play it self-righteous, do not play it self-righteous. I got issues, get moody, get lust, but I firmly do believe that the implementation of my trinity of theories known as citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, and democratic fusion theory are best at this point in time for a public-private partnership. So thus I'm here live on Facebook as an independent artist, independent athlete, independent activist, independent geopolitical analyst, and theorist with my own theory, of course, called Collective North American Civilization, or the Collective North American Civilization, just as Dugin has his Eurasian geopolitical theory about Eurasianism. So is my geopolitical theory called Collective North American Civilization. In briefly, short to summarize, of course, my theory is that us North Americans, North America constitutes a collective civilization, meaning that it's based on common denominators, not to be confused with the word collectivism, but a collective, an amalgam of civilization with a common denominator, which has been arising and birthed and spawned at the beginning of the Second World War, due to the fact that Western civilization, nation states within Western civilizations were warring with each other. And of course the collective North American civilization is a born part of, it is born out of a response and a reaction due to that fact. And of course it constitutes that it has its own geopolitical areas and its own geopolitical realities. The fact that we are surrounded by two oceans, and my policy for the collective North American civilization is two oceans, one border, two oceans, one border, two oceans. Since on that side is the Pacific is on the west, that's the west for me, that's west. That is the east for me, and that's the Atlantic and the Pacific. And of course we are surrounded by two oceans, one border is the philosophy, and of course my policy, two borders, one ocean, as a geopolitical analyst and theorist with my original geopolitical analysis and theory called the collective North American civilization, of which and foremost I am calling the creation of the two complementary, covenant, and cooperative institutions in the and for the security, prosperity, and defense of the collective North American civilization. Canada, US, as yours truly was born in many past lives, twice born in the USA, as a matter of fact, served 718 miles south of Hawk Island 156 years ago, served in the US Army, many past lives, many incarnations, as a universal spiritual teaching student who doesn't know it all, do not know it all, do not know it all, have questions, have answers, and I'm not perfect. At some things I am mediocre, at some things I am average, at some things I am so-so, I am great, super geopolitical analysis and theory, and of course dissecting great and sophisticated geopolitical realities based on regional developments or past or historical antecedents, based on current treaties and current realities and events of the regions of the civilizations in questions. I am great as much as I can philosophize with super intellectual and wise and perhaps overly sophisticated and cosmopolitan words. Sometimes it is better to, in parallel to that intellectual wise academic, it's best of course to be straightforward and direct. Right now my rent is paid. I'm grateful, thankful that my rent is paid in full, that of course my rent is paid, my electricity bill is paid in full, and to that bills got food and coffee. Grateful, thankful. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers of the collective North American civilization. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers of the collective North American civilization. And thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, truckers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, truckers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, truckers and farmers and grocery workers and the cooks and the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the doctors and the daycare workers throughout the collective North American civilization, that I'm calling the politicians, elected politicians, to offer, because sometimes We do not always acquiesce or are affirmative or say yes to offers. I will never turn down a volunteer who wants to give me a massage because cannot afford it at the moment in time, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes my own healing required action, my own healing required action, my own healing required action, as our collective healing will require some action, and of course some putting in my theories into practice, my theories into practice, my theories into practice. As I am here in 2:52 p.m. in the EST, buy, sell, trade, buy, sell, trade. Who made a million on the stock market today? Please, if you do make a million on the stock market today or this week, please give 10% to please give 10% to food security if you make a million today, because I got issues. I'm not totally selfless. I would want to afford some good wine, a good massage therapy session. I admit. But my brothers and sisters, ain't no way that if I would have been a multi-millionaire, I would have not. With all the issues, the lust, and I admit I watched some adult movies during the week. Don't spy on me. I fantasized a little bit. So I got lust, I got issues. I don't play the self-righteous. I am great at some things, mediocre at others. I'm people's athlete, great athlete, great independent athlete. And of course, I am for the greater good. I am for the greater good. I am for the greater good. And I am, of course, also willing to enjoy some good wine, some good bacon. I saw bacon at $9.99. I was, wow, I never seen bacon. The 500 grams at $9.99. The 500 grams $9.99. And I thought of a thing. So what if people cannot afford it? What are they gonna do if the expiry date? If it expires, we have the policies of corporation to throw it away. Citizen integration 3, Dragan army, secure food, housing, and transport solution, secure food, housing, and transport solution. And after we secure food, housing, and transport, those three essential elements, services, food, housing, and transport, services, of the Dragan army. So Alezandr Dugin, the important thing to take from here is that in 1997, the publication of the Foundations of Geopolitics, he outlined his worldview. Like my worldview differs. I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I'm a universal revolutionary centrist, calling all willing and living to move to break the impasse, break the impasses that are currently facing us. Myself, nothing that I aspire to go back to. I've been depressed. I've been suicidal. I've been poor. I've been struggling in pain X, Y, as millions are. You see, we have crises in the collective North American civilization as well. Crisis of suicide, mental health, and sometimes what they need is somebody to say, I love you, encourage people to work out, to train, exercise. You see the children do a push-up, applaud, encourage the child to do another one. See the child do a pirouette, encourage to do another one, to get some sweat sometimes. Not just to be all in the mind, in the body, sometimes online, when you're nature and civilization. To work out, to train, to exercise has been, is, and will be medicine and therapy for me personally. I believe it is for many, have been, and am, and will call for years. I've been calling for people to mass finance, working out, training, exercise, creating my own workout, looking for volunteers to build websites, the Dragan Army application, with the rules of my workout, which I've created and I'm proud to have created. The general war integrated whole body training system, as I'm here discussing my original geopolitical theory that North America constitutes a collective North American civilization, that North America constitutes a collective North American civilization, that North America constitutes a collective North American civilization, that North America constitutes a collective North American civilization, born, spawned from the Second World War in response and a reaction, but not totally divorced, distinct, but not divorced, distinct, but not divorced, distinct, but not divorced from Western civilization, but born from and with its unique apparatus and infrastructure and treaties, and that I'm calling to further solidify for security, prosperity, and defense. Two borders, one border, correction. Two oceans, one border policy. Two oceans, one border policy. Two oceans, one border policy. That way. To the east is the Atlantic. To the west is the Pacific. To the west is the Pacific. To the east, the Atlantic. Dragan Army, coast to coast. Collective North American civilization, which is distinct but not divorced from Western civilization, right here from Hawk Island, the big metropolis city, born from the collective North American civilization, calling for to all willing living to support my vision and philosophy, the implementation of my trinity of theories: citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, democratic fusion theory, in order to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions to be for service and security. The Dragon Army, officially titled the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, with the International Integrated Dancing, the Dancing Goddess Army, to be for pleasure and purpose, to attain harmony between civilization and nature and the environment. Foundations of Geopolitics, from Geopolitical Future of Russia, is a book, geopolitical book by Alezandr Dugin. Its publication in 1997 was well received in Russia. It has had significant influence within the Russian military, police, and foreign policy elites, and has been a textbook of the Academy of the General Staff of the Russian military. Powerful Russian political figures subsequently took an interest in Dugin, a Russian political analyst who espouses an ultra-nationalist and neo-fascist ideology. Content, and this is important. The book may have been influential in Vladimir Putin's foreign policy, which eventually led to this year's Russian invasion of Ukraine. The book may have been influential in Vladimir Putin's foreign policy, which eventually led to this year's Russian invasion of Ukraine. The book may have been influential in Vladimir Putin's foreign policy, which eventually led to this year's Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'm reading from Wikipedia. So the content, this is important, the content. Military operation play decisive roles. In Europe, Germany should, so this is what the book calls for, advocates. Germany should be offered de facto political dominance over most Protestant and Catholic states. France should be encouraged to form a bloc with Germany. The United Kingdom, merely described as extremely floating base, extraterritorial base, floating base of the US, should be cut off from Europe. The United Kingdom, merely described as an extraterritorial floating base of the US, should be cut off from Europe. The United Kingdom, it's hardcore stuff here, hardcore stuff, foundations of geopolitics. The United Kingdom, which merely described as the extraterritorial floating base of the US, should be cut off from Europe. Estonia should be given to Germany's spheres of influence. Latvia and Lithuania should be given a political special status in the Eurasia Russian sphere, although later revised that should be integrated with Russia. Belarus and Moldova are to become part of Russia. Belarus and Moldova are to become part of Russia, according to this book, Foundations of Geopolitics. This is hardcore stuff. There's no play here. There's no joke. This is Belarus and Moldova are to become part of Russia. Belarus and Moldova are to become part of Russia. Poland should be granted a special status in the Eurasian sphere. Poland should be granted a special status in the Eurasian sphere. Romania, North Macedonia, Serbia, Serbian Bosnia, and Greece, Orthodox collectivist East Orthodox, will unite with Moscow, the Third Rome, and reject the rational individualist view. Wow, this is hardcore stuff. Ukraine should be annexed by Russia because Ukraine as a state has no geopolitical meaning, no particular cultural import or universal significance, no geographic uniqueness, no ethnic exclusiveness. Certain territorial ambitions represents an enormous danger for all of Eurasia, and without resolving the Ukrainian problem, it is in general senseless to speak about continental politics. This is hardcore stuff here. Foundations of Geopolitics. So I've learned a little bit more. Now I gotta go clean my room a little bit. Clean my room. So I gotta read this again. Foundations of Geopolitics. This has been a special